New York football has never been lower. I've never been lower as a Jets fan. I just don't know what my solution is here. All right, everybody, welcome back. And as always, I am your party host, Joe Rivera. And with me, as always, is one of the preeminent ball knowers at USA Today Sports, Chris Boombaka. Boom. We got to touch on Sunday Night Football real quick, and the Pats upsetting the Bills in those shiny new uniforms. What are your biggest takeaway from the game last night?
Yeah, the arrival of the Mike Vrabel, Drake May Patriots in the AFC East conversation, I think, is obviously the main takeaway. Gotta love the way that defense played against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, and I think you also have to put a lot of respect on Drake May's name for the way that he played and what a revenge game for Stephon Diggs, if you want to call it that, with his performance too. So a lot to like if you're a Patriots fan, and a lot to lament if you're a supporter of those Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean that's why you bring in a guy like Mike Vrabel, right, to win games like that, to announce your presence with authority, so to speak. So, it's a big win for the Patriots. I mean, you can't strike it any other way, but maybe you can just a little bit, Boom, because let's think about this. Week 1, Bills, go down to the wire. Ravens collapse. They look, they beat the Dolphins, but they look kind of sketchy down the stretch. It takes a two-way interception. They have this game at, maybe we'll talk a little bit frauds later, but just food for thought for the time being. The Bills might not be all that they seem, but before we get into that, Boom, let's start with our usual Monday morning quarterbacks. And a guy that you want to talk about in this fine morning, or unfine morning if you're this guy, out in the NFC West is one quarterback of the Cardinals. Why don't you give us your Monday morning quarterback?
Yeah, definitely an unfine morning for Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Probably going to be an unfine week, maybe an unfine month, perhaps an unfine season for the Arizona Cardinals after what they turned in yesterday for pretty much the fourth quarter on. Just a quick rundown of things that the Cardinals experienced yesterday. Amari DiMarcado drops a touchdown before the goal line somehow. This keeps happening in the NFL. Perhaps one of the more inexplicable phenomenons we have going on in our modern league. Then Kyler also gets injured on a snap that hits him in the face. He twists his foot or ankle. He's walking to the locker room in a beanie, and he's back out on the field. Not a great second half to begin with. And then he watches his defense intercept a ball in their own red zone, go on to fumble that football. That football somehow winds up in the end zone, and the Titans fall on it for a touchdown. I'm confusing the Titans and Panthers a lot in that game because of the utter futility in blue and white that the Cardinals have hosted in recent weeks. But the Titans and Cam Ward obviously coming out on top with a dramatic 22-21 victory. Field goal as time expired. A complete disaster for the Cardinals. And it's not like Kyler played bad necessarily. That's why I love this segment. We can either dissect poor quarterback play or the circumstances surrounding these guys. But Kyler, my sympathy this unfine Monday morning.
Boom, I got to ask the question, at what point is it for Kyler? At what point does he put it all together? Because, we see franchise quarterbacks across the NFL, and you say to yourself, that guy put that team on his back. That guy, he turned around the fortunes of this franchise. But it feels like we haven't really seen that with Kyler yet. Is that fair? Is that unfair?
No, it's totally fair. We haven't seen him put together a complete skill set, a complete season, really, where he's doing all the things that he's capable of. And I'm not sure we ever really will, at least with the expectations we had for him as he entered this league as a Heisman Trophy winner, as a number one pick. But I'm pretty low on just the Cardinals' future, especially as these things keep happening to them. And this is a guy who picked them to win a wild card spot in 2025.
All right, Boom. So I want to move on to my Monday morning quarterback here, and a guy that some people expect to turn out to be the franchise quarterback of your New York Football Giants, and that is one Jackson Dart. And listen, it's only game. This is the second start of his career, but you win, you beat the Chargers, and everybody, the vibe's good, right? Brian Dable's just about kissing this guy on the sideline. Everybody says, oh, we got the future. And then what happens? You start the game sharp versus New Orleans, and then you throw 2 interceptions. And again, this offense looks inept. And again, the questions surround the head coach and everything else about the Giants moving forward. It's an impossible situation to be in if you're Jackson Dart. because not only are you expected to be the future of this franchise, but you have to be the present of this franchise. And an entire regime is essentially weighing on your shoulders between Brian Dable and Joe Shane. So if you're not winning games, these guys are getting fired, and then the new regime comes in and they're evaluating you and they're looking at everything that's happening. It's unfair to Dart. Like I'm not really of the mind of like every rookie quarterback needs to sit, but it feels like this guy was put in a terrible, terrible position. We know what the Giants are. We know who Brian Dable is as a head coach at this point. So I'm not sure what else anybody needs to see, but it's tough. It's waking up this morning and you had such a high of last week, and now you can't even beat the lowly Saints. That's impossible spot to be in if you're Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I mean, literally putting the ball on the ground is never advisable in the National Football League, I would say. So I think starting there for Dart would be a good way to rebound in the coming weeks. But yeah, like you said, Joe, it's just like I feel like it's a no-win situation for the kid. It's gonna be tough sledding, I think, with that schedule and the defenses that they're going up against in the first, I guess, half of the season, which we're now halfway through. So I guess this quarter of the season, but things are not looking good for Big Blue and Jackson. So, but honestly, like what was there to expect? I don't. I think we did a great job of hyping ourselves into some Giants semblance of success, which might have been like 7 wins. During August, right? Like people were like, "Oh, this team isn't going to win 3 games; they might win 7. It might be closer to 3." So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
And before we completely move on from our morning segment of the show, I want to introduce something called Jets Therapy Minute. So, Joe, I know that this is an emotional time for you as a Jets fan. 0-5, losing to the Dallas Cowboys 37-22 yesterday. So, you have 1 minute to vent. Go ahead.
You know, I'm still wearing a Jets shirt today, Boom. So that should tell you how unwell I am to begin with. But I'm also wearing a Jets shirt because it's not often when the Jets are number one something, and they're currently number one and being number 32. They're the last winless franchise in the NFL entering week 5. This is miserable, man. It's a miserable experience. I mean, what else is there to say? High hopes with Aaron Glenn coming into the season. They've looked totally inept, and I look at my 2-year-old son and I ask myself, is this abuse? What I'm about to put him through a lifetime of this? It's been bad enough for me. I just don't know how much more we can go through this, Boom. I mean, Justin Fields is debate already, with Fields fantasy quarterback versus reality quarterback, essentially lots of garbage time stats. I just don't know where to go from here, Boom. It's a miserable experience. New York football has never been lower. I've never been lower as a Jets fan. I just don't know what my solution is here. So I want to be angry, but I feel nothing. That's how bad it's gotten for the New York Jets.
Apathy, depression. Joe, how did that make you feel? And that was Jets Therapy.
Better than watching a Jets game every Sunday, I'll tell you that. All right, Boom. On the other side of things from the lowly Jets, we got a number of teams in the NFL. They're looking like legitimate contenders at 4-1 right now. So let's go through each of these team, Boom. And I want you to tell me what one thing about these franchises that you're still concerned about. So let's start up north, Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. Riding, they lose Sunday Night Football to the Patriots, but what's the biggest concern to you with Buffalo moving forward?
Yeah, I thought that defense was going to take a step back coming into the year, and they played okay so far, but I definitely see some signs of concern. And the main thing for Buffalo, though, in my mind, is what if Josh Allen isn't Superman every single game? What if he doesn't play MVP level ball every single time, and teams do a good job of neutralizing him, not in the sense of like the scheme, but also just ball control on the other side, not letting him have as many possessions or run the rock as much as they can. I think that's definitely why Buffalo should be a little bit concerned. Like, what are teams doing to neutralize Superman?
Right, and the thing with Buffalo, Boom, is what is their identity as a team right now? Like it's hard for me to see what the identity
Josh
is
Allen.
because
It's just
right,
Josh Allen.
it's just Josh Allen, right? But like with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, like, and we know we'll get to the Ravens here, but with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, you know what brand of football you're getting every week. With the Bills, it feels like they have this identity crisis where they want to be tough nose and tough playing defense, but then they also want Josh Allen to throw 300, 350 yards every game, right? And they want to be sexy to watch. So I'm not sure that's what their identity is. And to your point, Josh Allen throws another ill-advised interception yesterday, and you say to yourself, how many he can't bail them out every game. So I think it's totally fair critique of them moving forward. All right, let's move on to the AFC South. And one of the biggest surprises of the NFL to this point in the season are your 4-1 Indianapolis Colts. And Daniel Jones, listen, if I had my dunce cap right now, I'd be wearing it because I clowned on DJ early in the season. But he's a guy that's looked kind of legit I to this point in the season. But what is your biggest concern with the Colts moving forward? Boom.
I feel like we've been clowning the Colts since August. Like I came out here and like derided my training camp visit to them. So I'm gonna take a step back because now I'm scared. Like the Colts are scaring me. Like look, just like the success that they've had. But look, shout out the Badgers and Jonathan Taylor. Like the guy is an unbelievable back in this league that does not get enough love, and it's probably because his offensive line is actually so good too, and they really make life easier for head coach Shane Steichen and obviously Daniel Jones and stuff. But I'm not going to say Daniel Jones because again, I'm scared and I can't keep digging myself in this hole. So I'll say the secondary. Secondary's got a lot of holes for the Colts, and I think that teams are going to be able to kind of air it out against them, and whether or not Jones can kind of keep up in these shootouts is going to be interesting.
Right. And I think with Daniel Jones, at some point, people are going to be asking Kevin O'Connell what the secret sauce is, right? What's Michael's secret stuff? Because Daniel Jones had a very short stint as a backup with Minnesota last year, and now he looks like he's going through a career revitalization, right? And Sam Darnold leaves Minnesota, and everybody kind of expects him to turn back into a pumpkin, but he's played pretty well so far this season. So is it wrong of me to say Daniel Jones still is the thing? Because like I've watched Daniel Jones for most of his career, and there's something about it I just don't trust what I'm seeing with Daniel Jones. So that's where I'm at with the Colts. I think it comes down to quarterback play a lot of the time. Good quarterback play can bail you out, like we're talking about with Josh Allen. It can also sink you. So as Daniel Jones keeps giving them these performances, again, he had another solid performance yesterday. It's tough for me to bury them, but I just don't trust it. Boom, I don't trust it.
Yeah, I don't think you're out of your mind for not trusting Daniel Jones. I know this is not the saying, but like if it looks like a dog and it barks, it's probably a dog. So there you
Yeah.
have it with Daniel Jones.
All right, boom. So you wrote a really, really good piece yesterday on USA Today Sports, for USA Today Sports, talking about the Eagles and their unwillingness or to run Saquon Barkley, right? And it seems like that's been a concern. There's something about the Eagles' offense that's wrong. So tell me what you think is wrong about the Eagles this year. Why are you not trusting them at 4-1?
Yeah, I think the main crux of the piece, Joe, is like, is it an unwillingness, as you said, or is it an inability, right? Like, because those are two kind of different things. And I think that's like the central question that we need to interrogate when it comes to dissecting this Eagles offense right now, because I think it was 11 rushing attempts yesterday. Like, sometimes I feel like Jalen Hurts has close to 11 just from taking off and scrambling. Like, five runs for Saquon Barkley, whatever it was, like, I don't understand how you can enter a game against a Denver Broncos defense that has an awesome secondary, a really stout front seven, and not have some sort of like just absolute foundation in running the football. Just makes no sense to me. And that's why I'm really concerned about the Eagles after this week.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And there's something smells rotten in the state of Philadelphia, right? Or city of Philadelphia. There's something not quite right here with this Eagles offense. You had AJ Brown last week with the cryptic tweet. To your point, that Saquon hasn't really been there this year, whether it was unwillingness or inability, whatever it is. And we know the history with rushers and 2,000 yards and how hard it is to do that again, right? It's an impossibility. It really hasn't happened in the NFL. So it's there's something just off. And for Kevin Patullo, the new offensive coordinator there, it's how do you figure this out, right? How do you get this all moving in the right direction? Because you got a lot of players in there demanding the ball. And last year you figured it out, right? Like you knew it was Saquon and then everybody else chips in kind of deal. This year, I'm not sure what the situation's going to be. So we'll see what happens with the Eagles moving forward. All right, boom. Let's head over to the NFC North and your Detroit Lions. Well, not yours, but America's team,
I'll claim
America's
them.
new. So
I'll
you'll
claim
take them. I think most NFL. I'd definitely take them right now. But like most NFL fans are loving the Detroit Lions, and the Detroit Lions are giving them something to watch every week at 4-1. I know there was a lot of concern losing two coordinators this offseason with Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson taking head coaching jobs. And was Dan Campbell really kind of the motor behind Motor City, right? And it looks to this point that he kind of is. So, what's your biggest concern with the Lions moving forward?
we really had to dig for an aspect of the Lions here that we don't really are appreciate or are high on at the moment. And it just has to be the schedule right now, really, because I'm loving everything from Dan Campbell's squad, whether it's how the offensive line has rebounded from a bad week one loss against the Packers to how Jared Goff is playing to defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard's enthusiasm on the sidelines. I love his juice. I love the way he's got his guys flying around and being turnover oriented. So loving the Lions right now. But yeah, that schedule, they have the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in week 6, and then in week 7 they have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on, I believe it's a Monday night game or as part of a Monday night doubleheader. So that will be another big game for them, and especially in the NFC seeding potentially with them in the Bucks. So I got my eyes on the Lions schedule, and then if you look beyond that, they have the Vikings at home, so division game. You never know what Kevin O'Connell's going to be cooking up for them. And then they're on the road for Commanders and Eagles. So not the easiest stretch here in October, but will be will be something to worth watching with the Lions.
I think the thing with the Lions too, and I have nothing bad to say about them, so I'm just going to give a shout out to John Morton, okay? And I'm giving a shout out to John Morton, new Lions offensive coordinator, because he was one-time Jets offensive coordinator, and their offense did not look this good. So it just must be something in Florham Park, man. It's just it all comes up Jets, really. At the end
Or
of the
like
day.
having good players matters too,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, you're probably right. All right, boom. Let's move on to the NFC South. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are sneaky 4-1 too. Now, their wins have all come thanks to Baker Mayfield heroics, right? And coming down to last possessions is not really sustainable. So that would be my takeaway. But what's your biggest takeaway? What do you not like about the Buccaneers right now?
No, that's actually it for me. I don't trust his defense to come up with key stops when he needs to, and that hasn't been an issue so far because Baker Mayfield has been such a baller in these late game moments. And I mean, it doesn't matter when in the game, and it really is, but especially in the fourth quarter, he's been stepping up, executing, and the offense has been so much fun to watch. But you can't guarantee whether he's gonna have the ball last every single time. So right now, the Bucks have some things they need to get right on defense, and will Todd Bowles be able to get it done? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, it's unbelievable the job that Todd Bowles has really done. I mean, going back, Bulls' defense have had this bend don't break at the end of games a lot of times, right? And we've seen it this year. Like even the Jets making a furious comeback near the end of the game to try and take it away. But they've come out on top. Now, again, is that sustainable? Probably not. I would think not, but sometimes magic happens in the NFL, man. So I guess we'll see moving forward if that's a winning recipe for the Buccaneers. And last but not least, boom, let's head out to the NFC West and San Francisco 49ers with the power of Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones? Are 4-1 right now, brother. And I have no idea what to make of this. Listen, in years past, Shanahan has certainly dealt with his injuries. We know this since he's been the head coach there. He's been dealt lots of, whether it was Jimmy Garoppolo or Debo or just tons of injuries. He's dealing with Brandon Ayuk this year, but they're 4-1 right now, and they look pretty solid. What's your biggest takeaway? What's your biggest concern with these San Francisco 49ers?
It's still going to be those injuries for me. Brock Purdy kind of still on the shelf. George Kittle. I know that they're trying to make up this production in the margins, and the wins are still coming with Mac Jones at quarterback and such. But I question the sustainability of all of that, right? But maybe Kyle Shanahan learned a lesson along the way in these seasons where things go so terribly wrong for them, right? Like it's either they are picking ridiculously high in the draft or they're making the NFC title game. There's like no in between for them. But maybe he learned a lesson in depth and roster construction, and that's why the Niners are in a better spot right now. But yeah, injuries are my main concern for the Niners.
All right, boom. So we're 5 weeks into the NFL season, 1 month in, entering week 6. It's perfect time to fire away some early season superlatives. So I'm going to give you a list of superlatives, boom, and you tell me who fits the bill. So we'll start with this: most likely to win NFL MVP.
I'm firing up the Big Show MVP train. Whoop whoop, Baker Mayfield for MVP. Let's
The
do it.
great, the great Tampa Bay Bake Off. Love that. All right, boom. Let's move over to breakout star of the month for September. Who you got?
I'm sticking with Baker's teammate, rookie wideout Emeka Egbuka. Guys come on the scene and just lit it up in multiple aspects of the passing game. Really exciting player.
Coach of the month, boom. Few good candidates, but who gets that nod from you?
I'm gonna bite some kneecaps and roll with Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions. Lost both of his coordinators. Team has missed me.
Bite those kneecaps, drink those energy drinks, man. It works for Dan Campbell. Most underrated player of the month. Who you got?
He's so underrated for so long that maybe he's now properly rated, but he's still flying under the radar a little bit for me. Matthew Stafford. Guy plays an unbelievable quarterback, and he's why the Rams are still thriving in the NFC West. That's pretty good.
Yeah, not only that, but you had all the concerns about the injuries heading into the season, and to see him play and look like vintage Stafford, it's been fun to watch. Biggest surprise for you, boom.
I want to say the level of play that Dak Prescott has displayed here in the first 5 weeks of the season. We knew Dak was at worst an average quarterback in the NFL, but I think he's actually shown why he can be considered part of like that top of tier two, bottom of tier one level through the first 5 weeks of the season, even without a healthy CD Lamb.
And there's a number of these, boom. You can go in any direction, but who's your biggest disappointment so far of the 2025 NFL season?
They were my Super Bowl pick at the start of the year. I think it's pretty safe to say that they're not going to be playing in California in February, and perhaps they won't even be playing in January in the postseason. But the
Ooh,
Baltimore Ravens, yeah, one and
yeah.
four, no Lamar Jackson, a lot of injuries, just horrible tackling and defense seems very unraven like, and that's why they're my biggest disappointment so far.